Thank you.
Awesome.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Kelvin Carrington Tichana. I am a data management and data analyst at Ed Class at Arizona State University. Pleased to join you virtually to talk about building with AI, unlocking the power of Gemini, real time RAG or retrieval augmented generation with multimodal live API. So, how many of you here know what an API is all about? You can just tell me, you just mute and unmute and tell me what an API is all about before we go any further. Hello? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we
Hi.
can hear you.
Okay, cool. All
Yeah.
right, so
Mhm.
I would then just try to explain what it's all about. So, an API is an application programming interface. Think of it as a gateway that allows you to transfer information from one application to another, right? So Gemini 2.0, which is the Google model we are using for, it's a multimodal model. It's a generative AI model. It's hosted by Google. We know that. So what if I want to build applications, right, using it? How can I do that? So the Google team has developed the Multimodal Live API that allows you to write your own scripts that can communicate with the Gemini 2.0 model, right? So this is one architecture. There's many architectures you could go by that allows you to create such an application that communicates with the multimodal API. RAG basically means you're receiving context from documents, from images, from text that you say Gemini should reference before it gives you a response, right? So think of it this way: generative AI, we know that it generates text, it generates images, and all these things, but usually it's just in the general context using the data that it was trained with. I'm sure it's multitudes of data that Google that used to train Gemini 2.0 with. Now, RAG is that you want to build an application that's using your context or the context of your data. How do we ensure that that happens? So that's what RAG is all about. So it's a retrieval. You are retrieving information from the context, augmented to augment that to the original training data, right? Because it's still a generative AI model. Generation means you're generating responses to queries based on that data that you give to Gemini to get context from. So we have the API that's linked to your application. In this case, it'll be the backend server, WebSocket, Python, whatever, or in Colab, right? You could also work in Colab as well. Um, and then you upload or you create a way or a vector database that um, a vector database is basically that context, the data that you want Gemini to get information from, but then in this case, it's indexed to become a vector database. So there are things called embeddings. We could go into details about that, but at this point, think of it as where you store the information in the format that Gemini understands. Remember, Gemini is an AI model. It understands data in the form of tensors and all of those things, vectors, right? So that's why it needs to be a vector database. And then WebSocket is basically a way that your front end, let's think of it as another API, but let's not go there. The front end is going to communicate with your back end, and you can have your speaker, you can have your camera, your microphone, your documents uploaded. Pretty much that's where you upload the context, where then it will be sent to the uh, text embedding, whatever vector database you want to be using. So that's one of the architectures you could choose. Depending on your application and how you want it to behave, you could go with another architecture. But the idea is that you are using the multimodal live API to access Gemini. and to access it from your own scripts, within Python, within a server, within Colab, right? And I recommend you start learning to work with Colab. So that's what RAG with Gemini 2.0 using the multimodal live API is all about. Allow me to join from another computer. I see that what I'm working with as a demo here is a backend server with WebSockets that I did locally. So I'm gonna join using another computer right now and share my screen so that you see what I'm talking about. Give me a moment. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing this screen now. All right. Okay. Give me a second. Let me just join from here. Then I just walk you through the code, what it's all about. All right. Okay. I'm gonna leave the first. I'm gonna use one instance to join the meeting. Give me a second. You hear me? Hello?
Yes, yes.
All right, great. So I'm gonna share my screen again. Then I'm gonna go to my terminal where everything is. I'm just gonna open the script. Sorry, I use V a lot, which is very archaic, but I like to use it because it's very easy to work with in terminal. Right, so here, sorry about hard coding that I did here. I know this is not recommended to put your API keys in your script, but I just needed to get this running without setting up an environment or anything like that. But what you need is to have GenAI installed locally on your computer, or if you're in Colab, you must install it. And in this case, you must be using version, not this version. This is an old version. When I was trying to test it out, it's an old version. So you need to use GenAI 0.30. So that's the latest version that you gotta use now. And then again, put this in your .env file. Don't put this here like I did. Don't worry, you can copy it, but it's gonna be not functional after this. And then, so this key, you get it from your Google AI Studio. So when you go to Google AI Studio, you'll be able to generate a key, and then that key is what you use as your API key to communicate with um, Gemini 2.0. And then which model are we using here? So there's the Flash X model. That's the one we are using. So you need to specify which model you're going to be using. And then you create a client which communicates with that one. So that's the Gemini client we're creating here, version 1 alpha. We are using the API version 1 alpha. And this function that we have here is the function that will handle the sessions. We can see here that since this is multimodal means we are working with different modalities of data. That includes text, that includes audio, that includes video, images, right? And so this function, as long as it is, I guess I'll put this on my GitHub so that people could probably look and play around with it and maybe contribute to it and make it better, obviously. So this is multimodal, so to accept audio, It will accept PCM and image JPEG, and other things you could work with, right? So the whole point is that it should be multimodal. And then we also added up some debugging statements to check whether we've connected to Gemini API or not, when we run the script. And then we also expect to receive some output from Gemini when we query. All right, so this is the script really. I'm not going to talk everything. I'm not going to go over line by line to let you know, but just know that we're using WebSockets to create a server on my local host, on my local computer, and then we have a front end that's just going to help us interact with it, just in case dealing with scripts or lines of code can be cumbersome, for some people with terrible eyes like I do. So we just created a simple front end in using HTML and JavaScript so that you could just interact with this script, with this server. So I'm gonna exit out of this and run the script, right? So when I run the script, just like this, let me just minimize this. This is the web server running at localhost port 9080. We have a front end, so I'm just gonna exit out of it actually. So the front end that we have, let me just show you. We have these scripts, index.html, and this PCM processor, which processes the kind of data that you are dealing with, JavaScript. So now these are basically what your front end is dependent on. So now we're gonna run that like this and go to localhost, right? We're gonna go to localhost to just see what that looks like. All right, can you see my Safari? Sorry, it's not my Safari. It's probably like I'm using Chrome here. Can you see it?
Yes, we can.
All right, great. So I'm just gonna do a short demo to show you how this will work. All right. Hello, can you hear me? You see, so here we just spoke to Gemini using this short web app. All right, and then it's still continuously listening. You can interrupt it, and all of this is live, right? The whole point is that let me just stop this. All right, stop. Sorry about that. Okay, so now the whole point is that if you go back to your terminal, or if you're in Colab, you can debug what the whole thing is all about. So it's looking at me, by the way, and it's listening to what I'm saying because it's using my camera and my microphone. And when it does so, it's gonna send all of that information to that local server of ours and use that API to send that information to Gemini. And Gemini is using what I say and what it sees as context. So that's the RAG part of it, right? Okay, it's continuously listening. Give me a second. So I'm gonna ask it something else. What do you see? Okay. Now the context is because I was speaking to you, thinks that I'm still speaking to you. So I might need to run this again. Give me a second. I'm just gonna close this session. All right. Go back here, run it again. Right. So the server's up. Go back to that. Oh, sorry. Give me a second. It's not on there. I'll go back here. All right. Now it's running again. What do you see? Right, you see, it says, I see a person with dark skin and a slightly furrowed brow looking directly at the camera. They have dreadlocks. I don't know if these are dreadlocks that are sticking up, a light mustache, which is true, and are wearing a gray t-shirt, which I am. The background behind them consists of a plain off-white wall, which is true, a portion of a window, which is this part, right? Um, or a curtain to the right, and part of that appears to be a painting or a print, which is that print of me at my graduation. So this is the whole point. You could build out your own applications that communicate with Gemini, and you create this kind of magic. Imagine if you're doing this on your phone, you probably point it at, let's say you're a farmer, and you just have to understand a little bit more about your crops. You could ask a lot of questions about it, give it context. You could feed it PDFs as well, and ensure that you learn more as much as you can about your crops. Probably learn about the disease that they will have or they have, and be given recommendations on how to improve them and all those things. So that's what Gemini API Live API is all about. I think you should give it a try. Remember, the magic that's making this happen is the Gemini model, which Google hosts. So you are creating an application that goes and queries Gemini 2.0, but tells it that use the context of what you see or the documents that I provided you or the text that I've provided you or the images, whatever, in that I've stored in a vector database. All right, I think that's all I had for you. If you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. All right, I'm just going to stop this now and stop sharing my screen. All right, okay. Go back here. Stop sharing. All right, that's all I had for you guys. Any questions, any suggestions, contributions, anything you got to say? I see Nyasha has got something to say. Hi, Nyasha.
Oh, hi, Kelvin. Thank you for the demo. So my question is about using. I understand it's an open source project. I mean,
Yes.
the model is open source, but
Yeah.
then when integrating with apps that are going to be shipped and let's say for payment and if for selling as a SaaS or something like that,
Right.
are there some restrictions to the usage of the API
Right.
when let's say there's
As
an
far as I'm
application
concerned,
that's going to
there's
be
a
made?
documentation. Sorry, you can continue.
All right. So yeah, basically my question is, are there some license that Google wants us to follow when shipping out product is a SaaS using the open source API?
Yes, that's a very good question, and I believe there's documentation for how to use the API and all the licensing that's